Elias Vance never wanted to be a hero. He was a USDA crop inspector, a man who dealt in numbers, soil composition, and blight reports. His life was a neat grid of regulations, a predictable pattern he found comfort in. But that was before he was sent to the heartland, to a farm in rural Kansas that defied all logic. The assignment was simple: inspect a mega farm boasting unprecedented yields. On paper, it was a miracle of modern agriculture. In person, it was a nightmare waiting to unfold. The moment he arrived, a sense of wrongness settled over him like the heavy, humid air. The cornfields stretched to the horizon, a monolithic wall of green and gold that seemed to swallow the sky. The stalks were too tall, too thick, too uniformly perfect. They weren't just growing. They were thriving with an unnatural vigor. The farmer, a man named Silas, and his family met him with a silence that was more unnerving than any threat. Their eyes were vacant, their movements stiff, as if they were puppets in a play, only they understood. As Elias walked the endless rows, the feeling of claustrophobia became suffocating. The sun beat down, but within the corn, shadows clung to everything. A low, persistent humming vibrated through the soil, a frequency that seemed to bypass his ears and burrow directly into his brain. It was a sound that didn't just suggest dread. It manufactured it, pulling at his mind with an ancient, ritualistic rhythm. He felt an instinctual urge to comply, to bow his head and accept what was happening, even though he didn't know what it was. That first evening, as dusk painted the sky in bruised purples and oranges, he saw it. The corn moved. Not a gentle sway in the breeze. There was no breeze. It was a deliberate, serpentine ripple, a collective shiver that ran through the field as if it were a single living organism. He backed away, his heart hammering against his ribs. This wasn't farming. This was something else entirely, something profane. His investigation turned frantic. He abandoned the official checklists and started searching for the source of this agricultural anomaly. The farmhands ignored his questions, their gazes sliding past him. The farmer's wife would just shake her head, a tight, sorrowful look on her face before turning away. They were all guarding a secret, a terrible pact sealed in the rich, dark earth. In the old farmhouse, amidst dusty ledgers and almanacs, he found a collection of local folklore. The books spoke of a prairie entity, an ancient insectal being that slept beneath the land. They called it the harvester, the patron of the deep soil. The legends claimed it demanded a price for its bounty, a living sacrifice to enrich the roots and ensure the endless growth. The passages were filled with crude drawings of a monstrous, chitinous creature and descriptions of a harvest altar. Suddenly, the farm's impossible productivity made a horrifying kind of sense. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place when he saw the central silo. It was older than the rest of the farm, its metal base stained and corroded. The humming was strongest here, a resonant thrum that made his teeth ache. This was its lair. The crop wasn't being fed fertilizer. It was being fed by the monstrous god buried beneath the silo, and that god was hungry. He realized with a chilling certainty that his inspection was just a pretense. He wasn't sent here to file a report. He was the next offering. Panic gave way to a cold, desperate resolve. He couldn't just run. They'd hunt him down through the corn, their silent, knowing pursuit more terrifying than any scream. He had to fight back. He had to break the cycle. He had to burn it all down. He found what he needed in a rusty maintenance shed, a can of gasoline and a single road flare. It wasn't much, but it would have to be enough. He had to disrupt its feeding cycle, to starve the beast. As night fell, a profound silence descended upon the farm. The crickets were quiet. The wind died. It was the calm before the ceremony. He saw them then, the farmer and his family, moving like specters toward the silo, their faces illuminated by lanterns. They were coming for him. Clutching the fuel can and flare, Elias sprinted into the corn. The stalks clawed at him, their leaves like razors against his skin. He felt eyes on him from all directions, the entire field a silent, watchful congregation. The humming grew louder, a deafening chorus that pulsed with anticipation. He pushed forward, his destination clear, the harvest altar near the silo, the heart of the darkness. He burst into the clearing, just as the family was turning, their faces hardening with grim purpose. The ground beneath the altar began to tremble. A foul, loamy scent filled the air as the earth cracked open. Something massive was stirring beneath, a chittering, scraping sound echoing from the depths. This was it. The entity was rising, drawn by the scent of the intended sacrifice. His scent. There was no time to think. Elias twisted the cap off the fuel can and began dousing the dry husks and stalks around the altar. The farmer lunged, but Elias was faster. He struck the flare. With a hiss and a flash of brilliant red light, it ignited. He threw it into the gasoline-soaked corn. The world erupted in fire. A wall of flame shot into the night sky, casting dancing, demonic shadows. The heat was immense, a physical blow that pushed him back. The rising entity, a nightmare of chitin and grasping limbs, recoiled from the flames. Its telepathic hum shifted from predatory hunger to a screech of agony and rage as its food source was consumed by fire. The distraction was all he needed. While the farmer and his family stared in horror at their burning god and their ruined harvest, Elias ran. He didn't look back. He ran through the fire and smoke, the roar of the inferno drowning out the entity's psychic screams. He had one last target. Reaching the massive silo, he didn't hesitate. With the last of his strength, he hurled the burning flare into a ventilation shaft near the base. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a deep groan echoed from within, followed by a concussive blast that threw him off his feet. The silo exploded, a tower of fire and twisted metal, collapsing onto the entity's nest, burying it under a mountain of its own grain and steel. From the edge of the burning field, Elias watched as his handiwork consumed the night. He could hear the farmer screaming, a sound of pure, soul-shattering despair amidst the crackling flames. The ancient ritual was broken. The harvest was over. He turned and walked away from the fire, toward the distant highway, leaving the secrets of the heartland to be consumed by the flames, a lone inspector who had seen the terrible price of an impossible bounty.